Captain Ellis Tremor took a deep breath as he watched the stars flicker on the screens of the ship's bridge. The sharp scent of metal brought back the familiar feeling that gave a warrior peace of mind. Clasping his hands tightly behind his back, he gazed into the dark void. The silence filled the air, that strange calmness before a battle. Humanity was no longer the same. Evolution had changed them, stripping away their emotional weaknesses, transforming them into fearless, ruthless machines on the battlefield. Once, humans were gripped by fear before war. Anxiety, the fear of death, the fear of losing loved ones. But now, for this new breed of humans, such feelings were seen as nothing more than weaknesses. Ellis was now known as the #1 death machine in the galactic war. The brief silence on the ship was broken by Rena's cold voice. "Commander, we're ready to breach enemy lines. Awaiting your orders." Ellis's expression remained unchanged. His dark eyes flicked to the screen displaying the positions of the Rivalis fleet. They were one of the galaxy's largest and most ruthless warrior species. But against humanity, they would be helpless. Humanity no longer had any weaknesses. "Initiate the first wave," Ellis said in a cold tone. His voice seemed to echo through the vast emptiness of space. It was a command entirely devoid of emotion. His mind analyzed the enemy forces like a chess master studying the board. The engines of the warship began to hum with a low growl. They advanced through space like a beast tearing through the silent void. Everyone on the ship was focused on their tasks. The new warrior spirit that bonded humanity guided them towards their goal without hesitation or fear. Pain, death, and injury no longer had any meaning. Each of them was a part of this war and existed solely to carry out their mission. The Rivalis fleet had assumed attack positions against the human ships. Their advanced technology and massive warships filled the empty void of space. Ellis watched the enemy fleet's preparations on the screens, maintaining his calm. They were facing the most ruthless creatures of the battlefield. "They're approaching," Rena said, her eyes tracking the enemy's movements on the screen. Ellis didn't hesitate for even a second. "Keep all weapons ready. We're waiting for them to make a mistake." The leading ship of the Rivalis fleet was speeding toward the human ships. The silence of the battlefield was shattered by massive explosions. "Let them think we're the prey," Ellis murmured. The ship slowed down drastically. Shields were strengthened, the course was slightly adjusted, and they made it seem as if the enemy had locked onto them. As the Rivalis ships continued their assault, Ellis's cold strategy was setting a trap for them. "The first wave failed," Rena said, her voice calm but clear. Ellis fixed his gaze on the enemy lines. "We'll target their weak points. Activate weapons at full power and begin the assault." The human ships quickly changed course and dove into the enemy's lines. Ellis's plan was now in full swing. The Rivalis fleet had not anticipated such a swift counterattack from the humans. At Ellis's command, the human warships struck the enemy's weakest points with perfect coordination. The first explosion tore apart the defensive line of the Rivalis fleet. Fires lit up the void of space, and enemy ships were exploding one by one. The humans continued their assault with flawless precision. Once filled with fear and anxiety, humanity had now become beings who lived solely for victory. The Rivalis fleet stood no chance. The echoes of the explosion still reverberated through the dark void of space as the rhythm of battle continued unabated. Ellis Tremor's cold and calculating gaze remained fixed on the screens, watching as the enemy's defensive line completely collapsed. The Rivalis ships were now in a state of panic, bewildered by humanity's merciless strategy. "We're ready for the second wave, Captain," said Rena, swiftly processing commands on the control panel. Ellis watched as the human ships moved through the battlefield like dancers. "Proceed. Destroy them all." The darkness of space was suddenly illuminated by explosions. Laser beams shot from the human ships, delivering deadly blows to the Rivalis vessels. The enemy, defenseless against this speed and power, was utterly exposed. Explosions erupted like a storm around the ships, scattering massive debris in every direction. The general leading the Rivalis fleet took a heavy breath and stared at the control panel, his face filled with terror. These can't be humans. How are they attacking at such speed? Humanity's new evolution had completely rewritten the rules of galactic warfare. Purged of emotions and trained solely for battle, these enhanced human warriors fought like death machines. Every move, every strategy was designed with one purpose: complete annihilation of the enemy. Explosions rippled through the Rivalis fleet. The human ships, working in flawless coordination, targeted the enemy's weakest points. The first targets were the energy reactors of the ships. Once these reactors were destroyed, the vessels became utterly defenseless. Ella's cold commands dictated the flow of the battle. Target the next line. Render them immobile. Rena responded swiftly. Locating the coordinates of the enemy ships. We're dismantling their shields. The human ships struck the enemy shields, triggering waves of energy. But Ella's strategy wasn't just about brute force. These newly evolved humans, operating with advanced intellect and logic, anticipated every enemy move and stayed a step ahead. The Rivalis ships tried to retreat into defense, but it was too late. The human laser cannons dealt deadly blows to the enemy ships. Blue and white waves of light tore through the Rivalis fleet. Every explosion further weakened the enemy lines. The Rivalis general, now in complete desperation, barked orders. Keep attacking. Strengthen the defensive line. But his commands had lost all meaning. The humans were moving with the precision of a perfect death machine. The Rivalis' largest ship, Narakith, advanced rapidly toward the human fleet. Its massive frame cut through the void of space as it activated all its weapon systems. A final stand against humanity had begun. Narakith is approaching, said Rena, her eyes darting across the screens. Ellis responded coolly, we've been expecting them. Attack with full force. Narakith began launching nuclear torpedoes at the human ships. Huge balls of fire raced through the void, homing in on their targets. The first torpedo struck a human vessel, causing a massive explosion. The ship was torn apart, its debris scattered into space. Ellis didn't hesitate for a second. Maintain the attack formation. We need to break through Narakith's shields. The human ships sped toward Narakith. Narakith's enormous laser cannons tried to land fatal blows on the human ships, but their speed and strategic maneuvers constantly threw the enemy off balance. Weaving through the explosions, the human fleet targeted Narakith's weakest points, its energy reactors. At last, one of the human ships broke through Narakith's shields, delivering a massive blow to the energy reactor. The colossal ship shuddered as its reactor exploded, and the resulting blast lit up the void of space. Rivalis' largest warship was obliterated, reduced to nothing but fragments. Rena exhaled deeply. Narakith has been destroyed. The enemy is completely defenseless. Ellis fixed his gaze on the remaining Rivalis ships. The enemy was utterly broken. Now, it was just a matter of time. Eliminate their final resistance, he said calmly. The human ships advanced toward the remaining enemy vessels. With the final explosions, the Rivalis fleet was completely annihilated. As silence once again descended over the depths of space, humanity had become a force that forever changed the course of the galactic war. When the war ended, a silence reigned in the depths of space. But this silence wasn't a sign of the war's conclusion, it was the harbinger of an even greater storm to come. After the defeat of the Rivalis fleet, the humans didn't celebrate their victory. Instead, they quickly began planning their next move, knowing the Rivalis Empire hadn't yet deployed all its forces. Ellis Tremor stood in the War Command Center, his eyes scanning the galactic map. The Rivalis still had powerful strongholds, and to completely annihilate them would mean total victory in the war. Rena's voice interrupted Ellis's thoughts. We've regrouped our forces. Our next target is the Rivalis main base, Navaris Fortress. Ellis examined the strategic importance of the fortress on the map. Navaris Fortress was Rivalis' last line of defense. If it fell, the collapse of the Rivalis Empire would be inevitable. However, the fortress was heavily armed and equipped with advanced defense systems. What's the current status of Navaris Fortress? Ellis asked in a calm tone. Rena glanced at the screen, delivering the intel. The shields are active, and they've stationed a series of defense fleets around it. They've set up high-speed laser cannons and gravity traps. Ellis thought for a moment. We need to break through. We must eliminate Rivalis entirely. Upon his command, the human fleets swiftly mobilized. The massive armada moved toward Navaris Fortress at light speed, resembling a death squadron advancing through the void of space. The entire strategy was centered on breaking Rivalis resistance and capturing the fortress. As they neared Navaris, the Rivalis defense fleets launched their attack on the human ships. Explosions lit up the darkness of space, and laser beams targeted vessels from both sides. At first, Rivalis ships seemed capable of halting the humans, using quick maneuvers and powerful weapons. Ellis calmly issued his orders. Initiate concentrated fire on the enemy defense ships. But remember, Navaris is our main objective. We'll press forward while they're distracted. The human ships dealt a severe blow to the enemy's defense line. Precision strikes targeted the Rivalis ships' weak points, and each explosion further weakened their ranks. The first defense line is down, Rena reported. Now we're heading for Navaris Fortress. Ellis didn't hesitate. Order all ships to launch a full-scale assault on the fortress. We need to break through the energy shields. The shield surrounding Navaris Fortress was a massive energy barrier glowing in the depths of space. But humans, using advanced algorithms and strategies, had identified its weak points. The human ships began maneuvering rapidly around the fortress, targeting the most vulnerable sections of the shield. Laser cannons and energy waves hit the shield, causing powerful explosions. Each attack weakened it further. Inside the fortress, the Rivalis commander desperately issued orders. Focus everything on the shields. We must stop the humans. But the shields were quickly collapsing. The humans continued their relentless assault, focusing on the shield's weakest points. With a massive energy burst, the shield finally fell. Navaris Fortress was now defenseless. Rena quickly reported the update. The shields are down. The fortress is wide open. Ellis fixed his gaze on the fortress. Attack with everything we have. We end this war today. The human ships advanced swiftly toward Navaris Fortress, activating all their weapon systems. Gigantic laser cannons and energy weapons targeted the fortress's defenses. Each explosion shook the fortress, tearing down its walls. Though the Rivalis soldiers tried to mount a desperate defense, there was little they could do against the human onslaught. At the climax of the battle, Navaris Fortress was obliterated in a massive explosion. The reverberations of the blast could be felt even in the far reaches of space. Rivalis Empire's final stronghold had been utterly destroyed by humanity. As silence once again settled over space, the human ships gazed coldly upon the ruins. The Rivalis Empire was now nothing but history. Humanity had shifted the course of the galactic war entirely, shaping the fate of the galaxy with their newfound evolution. Rena checked the screen one last time. All enemy forces have been eliminated. The victory is ours. Ellis responded in a cold, emotionless voice. When our evolution is complete, the entire galaxy will be ours. The dark evolution had turned humanity into the new leaders of a deadly, merciless era. Cold, ruthless, and lethal, This new humanity was on a rapid path to becoming the galaxy's greatest power. The end of this war was merely the beginning of an even greater storm. The fate of the galaxy now lay in the hands of human evolution. I hope you had a good time. If you liked my story, do not forget to comment and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye, see you in the next story.